We've all heard the stories where immigrants with nerves of steel must face and surmount untold obstacles in order to establish, if not reinvent, their lives here in the United States. From learning the language to adapting to cultural shifts, from discovering how to maneuver and make adjustments in a new country, to dealing with loss of an old lifestyle and missing those they love and left behind, is no doubt quite the challenge. Well, I'm Victoria Walker. Welcome to the Choose to Think podcast, and we're going to weave our way through these topics today, all right? But my favorite part comes at the very end when my guest tells us what he would write in a personal thank you letter to God. Please stay tuned. But first, a few items. Now, this is a bit of a personal announcement. I'm learning that it's a bit challenging to record a podcast when there's so much going on in the world. I don't want you to think that I'm not aware of what's happening, and I want to be sensitive to the issues. Please know that many of the episodes were scripted and recorded weeks in advance. As our nation now reels from anguish, strife, grief, and disease, let's you and I continue to hold the banner for truth. Let's trust that better days are ahead. Let's examine our own hearts. Let's pray and do our best to be the change that we so desperately need. They say that epic change starts in the heart of just one individual. As always, my prayer, my hope is that the C2T podcast offers you encouragement, hope, and inspiration, things we all need now, perhaps more than ever before. Thank you so much for tuning in. So I have something so exciting to share with you today. I've recently created a private Facebook group called Choose to Think. Not only are members listeners to the C2T podcast, we are a faith-filled community of Christians coming together to share our experiences in applying God's Word to our thoughts, emotions, and mindsets. We share the nuts and bolts of what we believe and how this affects exactly how we live. We have built this tightly knit and safe community to encourage, support, and educate others when it comes to putting feet to our faith in practical ways. I really hope that you'll join the tribe. The link is in the show notes, or just search Choose to Think on Facebook. I have known today's guest, Ruel Wodajo, a former student of mine at the local community college, for over 4 years now. Since we met, his family has warmly invited us into their home a few times, treating us with delicious, authentic Ethiopian food and coffee. And likewise, we've tried to reciprocate the gesture. Ruel visits us during the holidays, always bringing delicious treats and treasures. If you're an instructor, like I am, you can pick out those bright and gifted students within just a few class periods. They tend to rise to the top quickly from their serious and respectful approach, their promptness to class, and their genuine interest in the material and their eagerness to learn. That was Ruel. From being an extremely motivated and top-notch student to now becoming an extraordinary entrepreneur with a heart set on serving God and helping others, Ruel is on an upward trajectory for greatness. One client said of him, quote, "What Ruel provides is not only a credit repair service, but also an education that can serve you for life." End quote. Ruel created the School of Game Changers and Dajo Fix credit repair company. And he shares his journey on the episode today from Ethiopia to the United States. He talks about his road to becoming a successful entrepreneur, overcoming obstacles, and developing the mindset of gratitude. Coming to the U.S. gave him just the, quote, license he needed to rewrite the personal narrative, going from failure to a young man willing to do whatever it takes to learn and succeed. Since I've jumped on the entrepreneur bandwagon myself, each week, and we've been doing this for a while, Ruel and I exchange what we call our wins of the week. He is one of the most encouraging and inspiring people I've ever met, always with a smile on his face and a mission in his heart to take a few steps upward, stop, turn around, see who might be behind him and who might just need a helping hand. He puts his out there and pulls him up. Needless to say, I am so proud of him, his values, and his heart for chasing his dreams.
My childhood was very, very kind of like amazing. I grew up like being free. I was the person that really like the kid that really liked to interact, ask question. I'm a curious person at all. Like that is my mind. If I meet you, I want to know more about you. And that was like since I was 3 years old. And my mom used to think like somebody's gonna take me. She used to like don't go out of the house and everything. So, I'm very interactive and I really like socializing and learning about people, because I think we are amazing creatures. And if we can learn from each other, we can go far, far, far beyond where we are right now. And I believe that we're building God's image and we have a lot to offer to each other in order to, pass anything that humanity is going to face. But the thing is like, growing up in that kind of, curiosity, I was not that much appreciated. My thoughts of being like, I like being, making things happen. I'm a creative, I have a creative mind that kind of like try to create things. I was very, from early age, I was an entrepreneur. I didn't realize that till I really sit down and try to analyze my life back again. But I started businesses in my school. Like I used to sell t-shirts. I buy it low and sell it high in my school. I used to, when people want to sell their phones to change it, I used to be like, oh, I got it, I'll sell it for you, and then I'll bring you the money. And I used to trade a lot of stuff in school, but no one used to appreciate that. Growing up in Ethiopia, one of the things is like our parents are very, very strict when it comes to school. They want us to go to school, be successful, right? But me is like, I'm a very active person. Even though I appreciate being in school and learning, I was not that A student. And I had a lot of demand from family. All my brothers and sister are A students. So my sister is a dentist. My brother, like, I was the one that is like all over the place. So I used to face a lot of pressure from the house. My teachers used to tell me like, you're not going to be making it even to high school. You're not going to be successful in school. But I had to just suck that, still face whatever in front of me, right?
Mhm.
And just go through the pain, learn. But if someone is doubting you, and in that time I don't even know how to navigate my mind, how to know whatever the people are telling me is not true. So I used to believe everything, right? And I used to force myself to get around cheating, to get around like, I believe like when you are not inspired about something that you want to do, you start finding escaping mechanisms to just escape it, and cheating is one of it, because like, since I was not inspired, I find people that are inspired and I try to like cheat from them. It's not that it's a good way or it's a good copy mechanism for that, but just that is something that I found that it will do that for me. And I passed pretty much like high school and everything. Of course, I was not like I was not like smart in all subject, but I have like my favorites subjects and everything. So I made it to high school, and even when I was about to go to college back home, I applied for to go to medical school. But I really love studying the mind, right? Neurology, psychiatry, something that really interests me. So I was like, even though I'm not inspired, my mom want me to be a doctor. She does, and I love my mom, and I want everything, everything that I really can, do for her and make her happy, because she sacrificed a lot for us and everything. So I was like, let me make her happy, right? But I was not leaving my true self. I was happy when I was an entrepreneur. I was happy when I was creative. I was happy when I was like, trading those things and like, doing those kind of stuff. I've never asked my parents even for money, like, to go to watch a movies, all those kind of stuff. I've never asked money like, since like I was 15, 16. You know what I'm saying? So that is
Right.
something that I really, saw as it was in me, but I've never navigated because, no one accepted me as being an entrepreneur. That is something that everyone used to say, I don't know why you do this, focus in school and everything. But coming to the United States changed everything for me. And if you ask me how, what happened was, when I came here, everything, it's like I was in a fight and flight response. It's kind of like the responsibilities I face is like, it's like, if a tiger walk in front of you, you gotta, your adrenaline is going to kick in. You're going to do whatever you can in order to be safe, in order to make yourself safe. So when I come here, I see my school. I know that I gotta take school seriously, right? No matter what, I say I believe, in myself. I say I can do this. Now I'm here in the United States, and now I have to adapt. Now I have to ask for help. Now I have to say I can do this because, if I doubt myself after this moment, things are not going to look great, right? Because everything is going to come at me, so I have to be strong. And that is one of the things I tell myself, and started my school BCTC, right? And BCTC, the amazing thing that it offered me was no one knows me in there. So everyone, when I try hard because I have ambition, one of the things that you get as a hustler or as an entrepreneur is you have like, when you put your mind into something, you're going to crush it. This is like a characteristics. You can put, I believe you can put an entrepreneur in anything, and if they are inspired by it, they're gonna crush it. And for that matter, I was very, very inspired to take my classes, my school seriously. And guess what happened? It's different when I go to classes. I meet teachers like you that appreciated me, that say to me like really nice things, and I start participating in groups, and I start like realizing I was not a failure. All these things that have been narrated to me when I was like, growing up as a child, elementary and high school, aren't true. And I was like, wow, it's just kind of like it gives me the chills when I talk about it right now. It's just like, I realized that I was not just a failure. I was a person that is like was told the wrong narrative in my life, and I start rewriting my narrative, rewriting my story. And while doing this though, I still have the entrepreneurial mindset. I still like to be able to control my time, my what financial future and everything. So I still think that way. And now, since we have a lot of access here in the United States on information or mentors, I start navigating some things while keeping my grades all time high. I had like 3.9 when I left BCTC, and I had a 4.0 before I drop out of UK last time. So all these things, I was taking still my school seriously, but I started navigating resources and everything on how to have options, choices, and control over my life, which I really aspire to be since early age. And now that I know that I was not a failure, for me it's a no-brainer to go get it. So I'm not a failure. I know what I wanted, and then now I start navigating my mind and everything. But you know if you remember, I was a pre-med student, and my goal was to my major in psychiatry and neurology. And one of the things that really like told me is that it's kind of like this scenario that happened that kind of make me say, okay, I gotta take the twist. Was I started shadowing a doctor in Eastern State Hospital to just see what kind of things am I getting myself into, right? And it's just I went and shadowed the doctor. He's a very great psychiatrist, and I found out it's not something that I really want to do for my life. And that is when I decided. And as I say, decisions are everything. If you have something, and if you cannot decide on something that you want to do today, you're just putting it off for the next time. And I didn't want to do that. So what I did was I decided to change my game. I decided to shift and see what I can be as an entrepreneur, as a person that that used to do a lot of stuff in entrepreneurship. I'm currently running two businesses. One was my education company, which is the School of Game Changers, where we learn about how to empower the 7 areas of life: our health, wealth, business, social leadership, spirituality. We cover all aspects of life, and as what we can do, how to navigate resources as an entrepreneur. I just did, this was launched on, I think, March, and we I just finished the first quarter in that, and I'm really kind of like testing a lot of stuff in the school, making sure that my clients are taken care of, uh, and everything. So the results in that is very amazing. The other thing I'm running is a credit repair company, uh, and that is Dajo Groups. So we do repair credit for people, and we're not just credit repair company. What we do is actually we educate people, on what they can know about credit. If you really know how the financial world works, is like, we're in a capitalist economy, and sometimes people want you to spend. For example, if you're trying to buy a car and they see your credit is low, what they will do is just, they're not going to be like, hey, your credit is a little bit low, go home and fix it. So come when you fix it, so we can apply you for really low percentage credit cards, or low percentage loan. What they will do is just, oh, your credit is low, that means that you're going to have a high payment or high interest on the loans that you're going to get, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to get paid. You're just going to pay higher loans. So what they will do is that they send your information to multiple lenders. Of course, this doesn't include every car dealership. There might be ones that really care about their customers, and I appreciate those kind of companies, because if you care about your customer, you can go anywhere as a business owner. But what they will do is just they distribute your information uh, to a bunch of lenders, and you're going to have, like, I was dealing with a client that had like 24 inquiries, and what he did is he just applied for one car loan. The dealership just sent his information to a bunch of lenders, and he have now this much inquiry, and he came to me like to fix it. And it's just crazy how this information is not out in there, so people know about, like, the risks that they're getting themselves into. The things that they're really, this kind of like navigation is not provided. So our company, we kind of first fix the credit for the people. And one of the rules I go by, and I always tell my team about this, is we don't want a client to come back for the same problem. Meaning, if I fix my client's credit, I don't want them to come back to fix their credit again. I want them to be educated to keep it that way, so they can use my other services, like starting their business, being in the School of Game Changers, maybe start applying for business credit, where I offered them, like, huge trade lines to in at 0%, in order to use that money to grow and expand their business. So I always see a vision as when a customer comes to me, my goal is, I want to see where they are right now, and I want to be able to tell them, or to help them get where they want to be. I don't want them to come back from to their initial point, or where they started. So because I want to be able to see the progress in my customers, and I really love providing these values to clients that are very motivated to change their games.
I love your heart for
Oh,
wanting
thank
to
you so
help
much.
people. It's so obvious that you're impassioned. A moment ago you said something about being inspired, and how we're inspired when we're doing something that we're really passionate about and that we love. And it kind of comes effortlessly to us when we're kind of in that zone and in that groove. Even when you had your shadowing, which is I'm so thrilled that you shadowed because
Yes.
really and truly that is a game changing moment for a lot of
Oh
students. They're
yeah.
like, wow, I thought I wanted to do this, but this isn't for me.
Yeah,
And
actually, who
so,
inspired me to do that was a doctor that I met one time. Yeah, I was at UK, and there's a cafeteria, and I made him, and I was just asking him questions. I think he worked in the OR, and we were chatting, and I was telling him what I would be able, what I want to do or what I want to help patients with when I become, a neurologist and psychiatrist. And I was just telling him my vision on how I want to provide the help. And he was very inspired about my, ideas and everything. And what he told me was like, you got to shadow a doctor. You got to be able to see what is actually happening. And that gives you like a whole visual and a whole, like, I shadowed like for a straight like 5 days, which gave me like the whole thing. So it's, I can, I'm really thankful for that experience, definitely.
well, and I've also been just inspired by your mindset shifts along the
Yes.
way,
Oh
even in
yeah.
coming to the country saying, you know what, I've kind of got a clean slate here, not all of that narrative that has been harmful to me in ways, but now I've got a new slate and I can I'm going to do this. I'm going to show my strength in a new way, and that's a beautiful picture of well, our life in Christ even, and how we are given new slates, and it's such a powerful moment in our lives when we know that we're forgiven. And I'm not putting forgiveness on this issue by any stretch, but I'm just saying that's the feeling I got. I thought, you know
Yes.
what? It's so nice to have a do-over and to have a start over, and we don't have to be shackled to old mindsets, old ways of thinking. We don't have to, stay stuck there and ruminate on those types of things.
Yes.
We can figure out who we are and then go for it. What's our sweet spot, and then enjoy that. And
Absolutely.
I have just a couple more questions for you as we're kind of wrapping up.
Definitely.
I would love you to speak on the importance of mindset and how do you overcome any kind of toxic thinking that you may have had? How did you just kind of say, nope, I'm not going there. Instead, I'm going to push forward with my thinking and my mindset. I'm going to pivot into a new direction. What did that look like practically speaking for you? I mean, were you just
Yeah.
aware? I know you were aware of those mindsets,
Yes.
but on a daily basis, how did you resist, going back to those other thoughts and that old narrative?
Got you, got you. I really can talk like for 1 hour on this topic because this is like I love entrepreneurship for this because you deal with your like emotion every single day. Clockwise, you're if you're an entrepreneur, you're dealing with your emotion. You see your financial charts going up and down. You hear a lot of no's. I mean, if you are an entrepreneur, you are an emotional roller coaster. And if you cannot master your emotion, it is very hard to go from point A to point B as an entrepreneur. And, that's why I love it because it makes me hungry to master my mindset. I always read up on it. I always navigate it. I always kind of like, you have to know yourself as an entrepreneur. So the first thing I believe to master your emotion, as I say, to just mindset for me is emotion. To just be able to master your emotion. If you master your emotion as a whole, your mindset will be in a great shape. And I'm reading like Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within at this point, and one of the things that he discussed about is you know you got to control what things means to you, meaning you got to decide what things mean, like you got to define the things that happen like in your life. For example, it can be as an entrepreneur, it can be income, right? Your business definitely have to be successful, but it doesn't mean that your income is directly correlated with the value you provide. you know sometimes it might have a little bit of correlation, but that doesn't mean it's causation. Meaning, what I mean by that is sometimes, as a charter entrepreneurs, what we have is we try to provide value, right? Entrepreneurs provide value, solve a problem, and when we go ahead and do that, sometimes we don't get the feedback that we wanted. Oh, we put this much time on it, we created this much, but we're not still getting the result we want. Meaning the result might be appreciation, the result might be financial reward and everything, but that doesn't mean that we gotta stop, right? So as an entrepreneur, one of the very amazing criteria that anyone should develop is test, test, test. You got to test different things. You got to tweak things and put it in, and then test and learn. So one of the things that I see most often is that there's a cycle. You try, you fail, you try, you fail. And if you keep on this cycle, what you will do is quit, because it becomes overwhelming to just be able to do something an, in an efficient way, right? So what I really recommend is try, and when failure comes, you try, you fail, then you analyze what is that failure. It might be your marketing that failed, it might be anything, it might be your pitch that failed, it might be your sales copy that failed, it might be anything. But what is the thing that we can learn as entrepreneurs? If we're gonna fail, I fail every single day. I fail in a lot of ways, and my goal is, I want the failure to come. I don't go for failure. Of course, I have a winner mindset, but when it comes, my goal is not to focus on why I like how I failed, and what is being emotionally invested into it. But what I will do is I'll try to see what I can learn from it. That way, when you are asking questions why that happened and you're trying to learn from it, you're engaging your frontal lobe, like your frontal brain, which is like the creative brain. So that way you can tweak some things and make it better the next time. But when you are emotionally invested and think about, oh, I did this because I was not enough, and this is our like the narrative we had when if you see my story, people used to tell me I was a failure. People used to tell me that I was not going to be successful. It doesn't matter which sector they said that to me. That narrative is going to be here today when I face failure, and it's going to rebring that thoughts, that memories I had as a child, like people telling me I was a failure. But how can we navigate that? That is because whenever sometimes you feel like a failure, or you feel like you're not worthy of doing things, we gotta trace back and see where in our life were we failing those moments, where in our life were we feeling that we are a failure. And when you really navigate, when you go back and see where we saw like those kind of things, we got to navigate and say, okay, what was the advantage of that thing, right? What was the advantage of me going through that experience when I was a child, right? And maybe, for me was one of the things I used to do, when people like doubt me and everything, I started being very active on sports. I used to play for my school team to just avoid the destruction. I become like very competitive and participate in sports, and I used to do very good in that sector. I did that because I faced that challenge on my childhood. Now I have like a great way. If I want to run and everything, I have a healthy body, a healthy life because of that route. And I also went to church because a lot of the rejection that I was facing was humbling me, and somehow this is something that I found out. And the people telling me I was a failure, I asked God, what is my true purpose every time? And I was very close to church, and till this moment, I really ask guidance from my God. I see like, what is something that why am I here for, right? How can I serve your mission by doing what I do today? And that is something that I laid out when I was facing those kind of things. So that experience was not just negative, was not just failure. It brings me some opportunities, by facing those things, even though I was not aware of them. But now when you go back and see these things, you will start linking the negative with the positive. And when you do that, you're going to have a neutral mind, a mind that is not
This is
charged, a
wonderful.
mind. Um,
I just said this is wonderful.
yeah.
I love that you're sharing this, and
Yes,
I
definitely,
think what you've described in part is something. I have a little sticky note up on my desk that says, "I'm not failing, I'm learning."
definitely,
And it's if we begin to reposition those thoughts related to our experiences every day as entrepreneurs, it's we embrace even when we stumble or someone unsubscribes or it didn't go over the way we
exactly,
thought or we don't have the likes or whatever. We're just learning what actually works, and we don't stop our mission to serve and our mission to help. And
definitely.
that kind of, for me, that also spurs me on, because I know even if I have an audience of one, I know that, I might just be able to help one person, and somebody out there might be encouraged by what I have to say.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's just got to be enough. Now, my last question, Ruel, for you and it so transitions nicely into this question.
Awesome.
If you could write a thank you note to God,
Yeah.
what would you tell him?
Wow. That's a challenging one. Some of the things that I really learned throughout the year is the power of gratitude. The power of gratitude. Whatever you think your situation is right now at this current point, you know, being grateful will give you the answer. Being grateful, when I say this, it's easier to say than done, but it's very important to be grateful about whatever is happening on you, because like sometimes, if you think about it, if it's, you know a coal goes under stress to become a diamond. But if you really the if a coal like have an instinct, and he was saying he probably was saying that, what am I going through all this pressure, right? Because he doesn't know, uh like, it's going to become a diamond, you know and these all pressures that we go through as an entrepreneurs, as life, as single moms, anything comes with value. And Jesus Christ, when he was here on earth, symbolizing the way of life on how to navigate the, creatures, how to understand them better, all these kind of things. There was a lot of pressure that he used to go under with, like, but he have a mission and a value. As long as you have values aligned, you're going to be thankful every single day. So what I tell people is that, when you are really, really, if you want to be grateful about things, start living your life, start changing your game. That's what Game Changer Mind Mastermind is about. Changing your game. I believe that life is just like a game, and in order to change it, you gotta see those people that played it well, that demonstrated the game, and follow under their path while keeping your values. Because we don't follow everything that everyone is following. I have people that I really admire, start from you, my mom and everything. But it doesn't mean that I imitate everything from you guys. I still take qualities, and I still see how I can fit it in my value. My value is, to break, empower, build, and impact. I'll always see how this thing that I learned from you, how this thing from I learned from Mr. X, Mrs. X, will help me serve these four values I have in my life. And when you do that, you're going to become grateful. Anything that comes to you, even if it's pressure, you'll see the diamond, because you have values. God was frustrated with some things. It's crazy when I read the Bible. There are moments that God was frustrated in life. Of course, he's God, but he was symbolizing, humanity in here in the world. And there was like things that really, overwhelm him and everything, but he have mission. And what you do when you're overwhelmed change everything. One of his habits, when God becomes overwhelmed, or everything, he prays. That's one of the things I really took from him. Jesus prays when he gets overwhelmed, or something is not like, uh, you know if he feels those kind of struggles and everything, that's what he do. And I think that's exactly what I do right now. Like when I'm really very overwhelmed and everything, I kind of like kneel down and say, just show me the way to navigate through this. So if I really want to write him a thank you note, I'll tell him like, thank you for making me who I am right now, and I'll tell them that thank you for, writing me the Bible, giving me the resources, raise me in a culture that really respects and, really rich with, you know, like religious teachings. When I grew up back in Ethiopia, one of the things I told you was I was very close to church, and I learned from very, very, very well educated people around the church. And these people, like, I used to have a teacher that was like 92 years old. And imagine the wisdom that that guy used to give me. At this point, I still feel some goosebumps when I really think about, wow, I was a child at that point, but when I really go back and analyze the things that I was learned and everything, I really thank God for those experience, being able to grow grow up in a place that was very rich in history of church, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, all those kind of stuff build, the person I am right now. And I thank God for all the experiences He passed me through. I was, a teenager that, I was a little bit out of, this kind of scope. I used to hang out with the wrong crowd and everything, but He didn't left me like that. He always tried to find me, to pull me back to my, current self, to thank Him and to praise Him. And this is like things that I'm really grateful for. I'm grateful for, the things I'm creating right now, for my company, the people I'm impacting, and I do this every single morning. I start like by praying, thank you. And, I really cannot mention how many ways I can thank Him, starting from that He died for me and everything. But, my gratitude is infinite. But I thank Him for making me who I am right now. And, for all the things that He blesses me with to, impact others with my work and serve His mission as well.
And now for the higher ground takeaways. Number 1, turn up your curiosity meter. Dare to learn, to try, to put yourself out there. Number 2, when your values align with your mission, use that inspiration you feel to crush it. Number 3, watch your self-talk. Leave no room for doubt. Number 4, if you have a past narrative that really bogs you down, shift. Stop living in the shadows of past mistakes or under comments of what others may have said about you. Resist the lies. Number 5, deal with your emotions. See failure as a pathway to learn, to pivot, to change, and to grow. Number 6, never underestimate the power of gratitude. Start your day by giving thanks to God for the little things and the big things. Number 7, prayer is a powerful tool we have in our belts to combat feelings of overwhelm and defeat. And number 8, remember that coal under pressure becomes a diamond. Let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us your word to guide us in this 21st century. Help us to put feet on our faith in order to walk out those biblical principles in practical ways. Help us in our journey to choose to think, and may we think thoughts based on your wisdom and truth alone. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, Brain Changer, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Now be sure to reach out to Ruel or point folks toward his biz, especially if they're struggling to get their financial footing. His contact info appears in the show notes below. And until next week, remember, Dios primero y que Dios te bendiga. Ciao.